Avenue, so many buildings, and just loving it. But I had to do this. I had to do this. I didn't want to do this. I had to do it. You know, 4 years ago, Mitt Romney let us down. And prior to that, John McCain tried hard, but there was a big implosion prior. In all fairness, nobody could have done that. I think Abraham Lincoln couldn't have done it at that point. But last time, we should have won that election. We should have won that election easily. And I backed him big league I backed. And I backed John McCain big league. But the last time is won, and I said, you know what? We're not going to let that happen again. We're not, because we're not going to lose this time. We're not losing. We're not going to lose. And so many things have taken place that have just gotten worse. And you hear, you know, we have almost 100 million people that basically, they're out of work. And then you hear about we're down to 5.2%, so totally phony statistic. So if you look for a job, many people are looking for jobs. If you look for a job, you can't get it. You stop looking for a little while to recuperate. They consider you employed, okay? This country has tremendous problems, and we're going to solve them. And, you know, I actually have been saying it lately over the last few weeks because I see the spirit, I see the great people. These are great people. In this room, we went to Dallas, Texas. The Mark Cuban said, you can use the arena. That's where the Mavericks play, the American Airlines Center. And I had like 3 days. I think it was on a Friday or a Thursday. We were speaking on a Monday, and it was a holiday. And I had a few days to fill it up, and we filled it up. It was 20,000 people so quickly in Dallas. We went to Mobile, Alabama. We had 35,000 people. You know, we started at a football arena. You know that. We started because we had no choice. We were at a hotel, 500 seats. A friend of mine said, from Mobile, he's a great guy. He said, could you come down and speak in Mobile? I said, yeah, it's great. I'll do that. So he had us set up in a hotel, nice hotel, good people. And it was 500 seats. He called me about a minute after we announced. He said it's sold out. So we're going to move it to the convention center. Do you mind? That held 10,000. And he calls me about 3 hours later. He said the convention center can't hold it. It's too big. So they took us to a football stadium, which was beautiful, and we had 35,000 people. And that was just a short little period of time. And then last week, you saw that, we were in Oklahoma, and we had legit 20,000 people. I say more. We had a band shell, and we had a big park in front, a big park. And it's funny because the Pope was there at the same time, and he was in New York, and then he was in Philadelphia. And this is crazy. They had helicopters circling over Oklahoma when we were speaking. So it's a band shell, thousands of people behind the band shell where you couldn't even see. I mean, I said, what are they doing? They can't see, but there was no room in the park. So they had the helicopters circling over, and it was beautiful to see. And they had the helicopters circling over Philadelphia where the Pope was. Now, they said the Pope had 1 million people, and I had 20,000. And it looked like I had more. It's crazy. It's crazy. But no matter where we go, and it's because it's real. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That was Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump in Tennessee speaking to supporters at the factory at Franklin Liberty Hall. Now, Trump focused on his campaign, saying he wasn't going to lose this time around. Trump then said 100 million people are out of work in the U.S. He moved on to solving the problems facing those looking for work. Trump then started talking about how many supporters he says he has. Let's listen back in to see what else the Republican hopeful is speaking about.
And they said to him, nice guy. I don't really want a nice general. You know, generals. Bring back Patton. No, seriously. We don't want. This was such a nice guy. I like MacArthur. You know, MacArthur, in the history of West Point, he had the highest marks. I'm very much into the world of academics, believe it or not. And he had the best marks in the history of it. You know, I want these guys. He'd get off his plane with a corncob pipe and the high hat. And it'd say, here I am. You mess with me. Go ahead, mess with me. You know, it's different. So today they're interviewing recently this general on television. First of all, he shouldn't be on television doing an interview. Right? Right? You're supposed to be unpredictable. I've been using that term. They said I did this great deal recently, and it was a great business deal, and my other side, and they were tough, but I beat them, and badly, and they said they were interviewing this other side, and they were nice. They said, you know, we don't like Donald Trump, but I have to tell you, he was really tough to beat because he's so damn unpredictable, we couldn't predict what his moves were. And I said to myself, I didn't even know that. I don't think of myself. And I said to myself, our country has to be unpredictable. You know, how about with, like, Iraq a number of years ago when Obama said, we are leaving on whatever date, October 1st in 1 year. We are, so the enemy says, I can't believe it. You know, a big part of the enemy is ISIS and all. So they just went away. They said, why should we fight now? We'll wait. So the day we leave, they go in and they just knock the hell out of everybody. It's unbelievable. How do you announce it? And frankly, he should have said, we're never leaving. We will destroy them. We are never, ever going to leave. I never wanted to get into Iraq. You know, I was the one. I'm the only one. I didn't want to get in. I said, you're going to destabilize the Middle East. Now, with that being said, I'm the most military. There's nobody that will build a bigger, stronger, better military than me. Nobody. Nobody. But you have to know when to use it. I hope never to use it. You know, I want it to be so strong, nobody's going to mess with us. They're going to say, just leave them. Let's play around. Let's do this. But it's so, when I see what we've done. So I said in 2003 and 2004, there was an article, in fact, in Reuters, and it was 2004, and it said, don't go in. And it's not my normal thing. Don't go in. It's usually I'm the first one in. I said, don't go into Iraq because you're going to destabilize the entire Middle East because Iraq and Iran were the same thing in terms of power. And they'd fight all the time. They were fighting. That's what they do. That's why. They fight. And guess what? They're going to be fighting whether we're there, they're going to fight. That's what they do. They fight. Okay? All right? So they're fighting. They're fighting. And Syria's going to be another beauty. They'll be there for 29 years fighting. Everybody fights. They're all fighting. Let's rebuild our country. You know, I mean, it's time. It's time. But I said to him, I said, if you go into Iraq, you're going to destabilize. And the White House actually could, because I get a disproportionate amount of publicity, which is true. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to meet the press, and this week with George Stephanopoulos. So we have Chuck Todd, good guy. He likes me much better now. He's looking at my poll numbers, and now they all like, everybody likes me now because of the, we just had a poll come out, OAN, where we're 35 or 36. That's high. That's high. Don't forget, that's with 16 people. And I'm not a politician, thank goodness. But no. Of course, now I guess I have to say I'm a politician, but I'm sort of not. And yesterday, the Pew poll came out, which is a big one, and I was 25, way ahead of everybody, way, way ahead. And the pundits are all saying, what's going on? We don't understand. What's going on? They're going crazy. You know, because I'm not in their wheelhouse. They always pick these senators who are worthless. They pick all of these people. You remember when I was on the stage, and Rick Perry, who was a governor of Texas, with the glasses, remember? And he was a nice guy. He was such a nice guy. Then he became vicious. They all become vicious toward me. And they start hitting me hard. I never hit first. And they start hitting me and hitting me. I say, what happened? He was such a nice guy 2 weeks ago. Well, maybe. She just said something. You're probably right. But he was such a nice guy. And then all of a sudden they hit and hit because they need something, because they're going down. And they're at 5%, and then they go down to nothing when they hit me. It's the craziest thing. I wish I could sell that power. That's what we have to do to our enemies, right? That's what we have to do to our enemies. But it's been amazing. The polls have just gone up, and they've been constantly going up, and the press hates to report it. I mean, they hate to, I don't want to sound like, you know, but they hate to report it. We had a case in, think of this, Florida. So you have a governor, Bush, who's in favor of Common Core. By the way, he wants Common Core. How do you win an election when you want your children in Tennessee, in South Carolina, in Iowa, in New Hampshire, in every place, educated by bureaucrats from Washington? How do you win? So you have Jeb Bush, and you have Marco Rubio. So he's a sitting senator, and the other's a governor from Florida. And the poll just came out. And I'm at 29 or 30, and they're much, much lower. One's at like 14, one's at 11, and I'm at 4. Well, they have actually, and the new one, 4. I won't even mention that because that's like one's at 4 in the new one. Right? So, you know, so here's the headline. Rubio surging past, think of this. Rubio, who's at like 13, 14 in Florida. I'm at 30. Rubio, the headline in the paper, Rubio surging past Bush. I said, damn it. I guess, no, it's true. I said, I guess I can't be doing too well in Florida, because I thought, you know, in Florida, they love me. I love Florida. I'm there a lot. It's a great place, beautiful sunshine. But you know what? So it says Rubio surging past Bush in the Florida poll. So I say, oh, damn. Well, get me the poll. Let me see. This is too bad. I wonder where I am. I wonder how low. So I'm at 30. So in the second paragraph, they said, while Donald Trump is winning, and I'm saying, I'm not even in the title, and I'm killing these both guys. It's crazy. But that's the press. They're very dishonest, I have to say. There are some good ones, but they're generally very dishonest. So now what's happening is this. This is called political speak, which I hate. I had to sign an application the other day. It said profession. And I said, I can't put down the word politician. So I said real estate. I just said real estate. Hey, you know. But so we have a situation now, which is interesting, because Rubio was mentored by Bush, right? We heard that. And everybody, you know, 6 months ago, they said, Rubio will never, ever run. He won't do it, and he's loyal to Bush. Because Bush was older, and he was the governor, and Rubio was a younger guy, and, you know, it's the whole thing is sort of... Who has better hair, Trump or Rubio? You tell me. Trump. Okay. So, that's not a close one. So here's what happens. So, he was, you know, mentored, and everybody said, well, he'll never run. Of course, we don't know. We know politicians, right? Loyalty doesn't mean much. By the way, where are the Gatlins? Where the hell are they? Those guys. Come here, Larry. Come here. I'll tell you this crazy story in a second. Get up here. This man, just so you understand, he's great and all that stuff, and he's great with the singing and the voice, and he's happily married, but before that, the women used to love him. But he used to live, can you believe it? He used to live in Trump Tower, made a great deal. I sold him a unit, and he sold it for much more, which doesn't make me feel too smart. I feel like some of these guys that I talk about all the time. But I sold him a unit in Trump Tower. He lived there for years, and we became friends. He's a really great guy, and I want to thank you because I heard you put on a fantastic show before I got here, right? Thank you.
What he did was he rented the apartment for a nice number, and we moved out, and he tripled it because I had lived there. That's how it worked.
That's right. He's right about that. And your brothers, they are Where are they, Larry? They are great. Will you thank them all for me, please? The whole group. What a group. Thank you very much. And he is a friend of mine. Here's a guy, he's a New York slicker. Would you believe that, huh? So anyway, so with Bush and with Rubio, so what happens, and very interesting, I said, well, you know, I would say he won't run, but I know how disloyal politicians are. And they're all talk, no action, so maybe he'll run, but I don't know. Who knows? So it ends up that Rubio announces. And then I see Bush, and I see Rubio. Now, Bush is absolutely furious. Rubio is, you know, doesn't care about Bush, couldn't care less, even though without Bush, maybe he wouldn't be there. And what happens, and by the way, Rubio has the worst voting record in the United States Senate. He doesn't go for vote. Now, he says, well, I'm running for, well, but you have other senators running, and they do just fine, right? Including Ted Cruz and others, but they're doing, you know, they're going back and voting. So he's the worst voting record, but forget that. I don't want to even mention it. Pretend I didn't, hey, pretend I didn't say it, right? Pretend I didn't say it. So Rubio, so what happens now, I say, but they don't like each other. And everyone's saying, no, no, they're dear friends. Then I see Bush, and they're asking, well, are you upset with Marco Rubio? You mentored him. No, he's a dear friend. He's a dear, dear friend. That's the politician speaking. Then they said to Rubio, what do you think of Bush? No, he's a dear, dear friend. I love him very much. He's a dear friend. And I'm saying to myself, I won't use a bad word, because every time I use a bad word, they say Trump cursed, right? They all say curse, please. I can't. You know, the story's not as good without a little extra emphasis, you know, but I won't do it. Because CNN, every time I use a bad word, CNN and ABC, they did such a phony, oh, Donald Trump used a bad word. The bad word, you know what the bad word? It was nothing. It was nothing. It's what they use every night at home, believe me. So anyway, so they go, and I'm saying, look at this, look what's happening. They're starting to get, and all of a sudden, the last week, they're really going at it, folks. I love to watch it. I love to watch it. So now they're going and they don't like. But see, it's really politicians. All talk, no action. They talk. I love him very much. I love him very much. They hate each other. Be honest, okay? You know, one of the reasons we're doing so well. Yeah, and I heard, is that true? Bush was down to 4 in the poll. Wow, that's a low number. That's a good poll too. That's a good one. That's a big poll. That's actually, you know, it's actually too bad. That's a big drop. So what happens is they now, and they have to go after each other. They don't want to go after me because everybody that's gone after me is down the tube. So they're not going to do that. They want to wait. They want to be the last man standing. Everyone now wants to be the last man standing to take on Trump. Okay? I look so forward to finding out who I'm ultimately going to face. Right? I look so forward to it. So, you know, we're going to see, and it's going to be very interesting. But the world of politics is a different place. And, you know, I was the fair-haired boy. Nobody knows more about it than me. They say, what do you know about politics? I've contributed to everybody. Democrats, Republicans, everybody. Marsha's here. She loves me. They all love me. Everybody. Because that was my job, to be loved. Actually, one of the magazines said, Donald Trump's a world-class businessman, which is a very nice thing. It's true. I happen to be. But you know what? You have an obligation to your company, to your employees, to your family. You have to get along with everybody. You get along with everybody. But they sort of said, what do you know about politics? I was the fair-haired boy prior to running. Once I ran, I was on, like, what's he doing running? He's supposed to be handing money to everybody. He's supposed to be giving campaign contributions. Why is he running? Why? But it was interesting, and now I'm becoming a little mainstream because I've been on the top of the polls. How many weeks? The guy who said 4%, he really knows many weeks, right? Months, actually. So I've been up there months, and actually, they thought 2 weeks ago the numbers may be slipping. You know, I went up. Here's a great story. I love these stories. Do you like these stories? We can get to them, right? The other week I was interviewed by a very nice woman, Savannah Guthrie. And I had a really good NBC poll. I was like at 25 or 26, and I went to 29. Now, that was NBC. I'm being interviewed by NBC. CNN had a poll that I went down 2 points. Right? Do you remember that? And every other poll I was going up, but the NBC was really nice. I went up like a nice percentage. I was up almost to 30. So she said, in this CNN poll, I said, wait a minute. You saw the interview. I said, why aren't you using, you're NBC, why are you using CNN? They used CNN because the poll wasn't quite as good. I was still leading by a lot, right? But the poll wasn't good. Now what happens is, so we had the OAN poll, which is, listen to this one, almost 35. 35, and that's a great poll. That's a very sophisticated poll. You know, when I hear 35, and that's 35 with 16 people. So when I hear 35, you know what I want to do? I want to be one of these countries where they can call for the election the following week. You know? Wouldn't that be great? You wait till you have a good week and you say, ladies and gentlemen, we are calling for an election tomorrow. Let's see. I wish we could do that. But 35, when you have so many people running, is an amazing thing. Do you ever notice the pundits? So I start. And my wife said to me, and my daughter Ivanka, did anyone ever hear of Ivanka? Yes. We love her shoes, everything. She's great. But my wife and my daughter, they said, thank you. My wife and my daughter, they said, you know, if you run, you're going to win. I said, why do you say that? Because people really love you. They're tired of these incompetent people. They know you're good at what you do. It's interesting. And I didn't really, you know, I thought about it last time and I didn't do it. I thought about it very seriously. I was leading in the polls last time and I just said, you know what? And I renewed The Apprentice. And the top people from actually Comcast and NBC, they came up to my office this year, just before I announced. And great people, Steve Burke and Paul Talegny, the head of reality television for NBC, they came up to my office and they wanted me to do more than one more season, seasons of The Apprentice. Because, we had a great run, right? But I'm not allowed, if I run for president, because of what's called equal time, you're not allowed to do a show. So I said, I'm not doing it, fellas. I want to make our country great again. I really think I can win. And I turned down tremendous, tens of millions of dollars when I do that. Nobody. Mark Burnett called me. He says, I can't believe you're turning down an extension. Nobody turns down. Biggest actors, they don't turn down an extension. I mean, look who took my place. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's good, right? How will he do? Thank you. That's not a good sign. I think he's a good guy. So let's see. I mean, you never know. Honestly, you never know. How will anybody do? When they signed me for The Apprentice, they signed me for one season because they figured I'd be on for a few nights and it would fade. And we've had the 15 copies, all of them failed. But they signed me. They didn't have any extension rights. You know why? They didn't want to waste the ink. They figured I'd be... And they all said, well, women will never watch. And if you don't have women watching a show, you can't have a success. You can't be successful. Women have to watch, because if you don't have the women, a show, ratings... I've become like a ratings maven, okay? I've become the king of ratings. So I said... I read this one horrible reviewer, nasty guy. He said, the show... This is 12 years ago when it first went on. He said, The Apprentice will never be successful because why will women want to watch Donald Trump? Can you believe this? It's very embarrassing. Everybody, my kids look, my daughter, my wife, they all look, oh, that's so bad. My husband's so sad. It's so sad. So we go on. The show's number 10, and then number 8, and then number 6, and then number 2, and then number 1. And you remember the finale was 28 million people. It was like the biggest show. I actually wrote that critic back. I said, I want you to take it back, But you never really know what's going to happen. And then it was a success for many years, and it was great. And they wanted me to extend, and I said, I can't do it. And they didn't believe me. So at the upfronts, where they announced their programs, they went out and they announced that we are going to renew The Apprentice with Donald Trump. They still didn't believe me. I said, you don't understand. I'm running. And they renewed it. And actually, it was confusing, because a lot of people that wanted me to run said, what are you doing? They renewed The Apprentice. You're doing it. And what are you doing? I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then finally, I had to make a decision. And I will tell you, a couple of people told me this. Mark Cuban told me this. A lot of people told me. And Mark's been really nice. And so many people have been nice. But it takes guts to run. It really does. And I said to my wife, I'm going to do it. And I'll never forget standing on the famous escalator. You know the escalator, right? Remember the scene with Melania in front of me waving very elegantly? And Trump coming down, waving less elegantly. But I just took a deep breath, and I said, let's go do it. Let's make this country great, because it takes guts. It takes guts. And I'm so glad I did it. But the pundits were all saying, I started off at 6, then it went to 8, then it went to 10, and every week it would go up, up, up. And now I'm leading by a lot. In one poll, I'm leading by 20 points. And the person that's second, who happens to be a very good guy, Dr. Carson, who's a nice guy, really is a nice guy. But they said, Carson's surging. And I said, but I'm leading by 20 points. They never mention me. It's like an incredible thing. I'm like the invisible man. Everybody's surging. I'm leading, but everybody's surging. So, it's one of those things. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm really glad I did it, because I have been received so warmly. I came in with a group of friends from New York, actually, and they said, Donald, are you nervous making the speech? I said, no, because there's such love in the rooms, all of them. It's not like it's sort of easy, It's sort of easy. No, they said that, and he was asking. He says, he's a friend who's a very successful guy, and he said to me, man, he said he could never do it. He wouldn't sleep for months if he had to do that. And I said, it's funny, there's such energy, and I mean, in Texas, in Florida, in New Hampshire, the other night we had 4,000 people. It was incredible. In fact, Bush had 100 people. I had 4,000, and CNN covered both. And you couldn't tell the difference because they had it against a wall. We're here with Bush. And then they go, we're here at the Trump. But they didn't say how many people. It's so disgusting. But that's okay. But everybody in the room knows there's tremendous energy. And I said to my friends, I said, when you get up in front of that many people, there's like love. And it's love because they want to see something happen. They want to see. So, you know, I'll give you a couple of examples, quickies. But you look at the horrible Iran deal. Now, we all know it's horrible. 24 hours, but it's not really 24. It's 24 days. It's not really 24 days. Because before you get there, you have to go through a whole process, okay? The one that I think is the greatest is self-inspection, where Iran does self-inspection. Then there's another one where nobody really knows what it means, but if Israel attacks Iran, we're supposed to protect Iran. Do you believe this? No, think of it. In this agreement. No, think of it. But I look at it and, you know, doing the art of the deal, so many people aren't coming in. They're all wanting me to sign the art of the deal. And what happens is I look and I see the incompetence, and I watch Kerry. He has no clue what he's doing. If they would have doubled up the sanctions and sat back for about 2 weeks, they would have been called and they would have been begging to make a deal. But they don't ask for the hostages. They don't ask. They didn't. It wasn't that they didn't get them. They never even asked. And they said, we didn't want to complicate the deal. Now, if it's me, I say, listen, before we start, fellas, let's do this. You got 4 hostages. By the way, it used to be 3, now it's 4. They took somebody in the meantime, a journalist. We have one over there because he's a Christian. He's a pastor. He's a good guy. I've met his wife twice. She's terrific. She's waiting for her husband to come home. He did nothing wrong. He's a Christian. That's why he's over there. The whole thing is crazy. So listen to this. So I would have said, fellas, before we start, you got 4 prisoners, meaning 3, meaning now 4. You got to do us a favor. Get them out. Let them out. Good for you, good for us. Nobody wants them over there. You don't need them. You don't want them. They're in the worst prisons. I hear the worst places. Like, people can't even imagine. They've been there for years now. I would have said, you got to get them out. You get them out now. You get them out fast. And you know what? They would have done it. You know, it's the messenger. Somebody else, it's true. It's the messenger. I hate to say. Somebody else could say the same words, and the answer is no. But I'm a good messenger. I'm a very, they're not going to play games with me, believe me. I guarantee you one thing. I guarantee, and they're already now negotiating, because I've said this a number of times. If I win, you know, there's a little gap between winning and going in and doing a good job. If I win, they will be back so fast after that election night. You watch. Iran will say, we've decided to release the prisoners. We've decided. I guarantee. And I say that, and they're watching, and everybody's watching, and you have all this live television, all these cameras back there. But I'm watching, and they're watching, and let me tell you something. They will be home very quickly after that election if I win. That I can tell you, because Iran knows it's going to be a whole different ball game. It's going to be a whole different ball game. So the other day, which was so sad, so they should have been back. The deal was horrible. We're giving them $150 billion, all the other things that you've heard 100 different times, but we're giving them $150 billion. Now they're going over to Syria to help Russia. They're doing also. They're a rich nation. They got plenty of ammunition, believe me, and they're smart and they're great negotiators. So I heard the other day, not 4, even though we have 4, they want to make a deal for 3. They're going to let 3 go. But they want 19 people. They want 19. And they want many other things. No, don't think of it. So they don't want 3 for 3, 4 for 4. We have 4 over there. They're not going to give us all 4. They're going to give us 3 of the 4. And they want 19. And they want, as they said, and many other things. Oh, fellas. How do we take it? No. That's why these rooms are all packed. That's why we have thousands of people standing outside. That's why. You just can't take it anymore. You just can't. It's so incompetent. And we negotiate in good faith. And they'll get 12 or 14 or 15 people, and we'll give them billions of dollars more. And it should have been part of the deal. Should have been part of the deal for nothing. 0. Should have been part of the deal. You got great people over there. You got great people over there. They're waiting to be released, and they don't come out, and nobody knows what's going on. But that's the new thing I heard. 19 for 3. And we're not going to get the 4th. And they want many things beyond the 19. And we're negotiating. It's just sickening to see what's happening. Just sickening. All right. So We'll get off that subject. But it's just, you know what? It's emblematic of what's happening. Here's a quick other one. Bergdahl. You know Bergdahl, right? Traitor. He's a traitor. Sergeant Bergdahl. So he leaves. He deserts. He's a deserter. Remember the old days? In the old days, being deserters. Boom. In the old days, deserters were shot. Right? Well, I knew something was up when I saw his father being interviewed. I said, whoa, 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 what have we here? Whoa, whoa. That's a whole deal. But anyway, that was before I saw Bergdahl. But you know what? So Bergdahl comes out, and Bergdahl, he leaves. He deserts, pure and simple. The generals that went in to interview his group, the people that were with him, all knew before they made the deal. I figured maybe they didn't know. They knew. They had a colonel, they had a general. They interviewed all of these great guys, these great young soldiers. They said he deserted. 6 people were killed looking for him, right? They went out. They wanted to get him back. They didn't know he deserted at that time. So they went out. They wanted to get him back. They were killed. 6 of them. They say 5, but it was probably 6. Young, incredible, courageous people. Killed. Probably killed viciously, as bad as it can be. You can imagine. They were killed looking for this guy. So we get him back. What do we get him back for? We give up 5 for 1. So we get a traitor. They get the 5 guys that they've wanted for 10 years that are right now out on the battlefield trying to kill everybody, including us, okay? That's what we get. And that's the way we negotiate. We have incompetent people in Washington. We have a president that doesn't have a clue. He doesn't have a clue. And just to top that one off, the other day I'm watching television, and I see the newscast that Bergdahl, well, he may have some psychological problems, and we don't expect that he'll be getting any prison time. Do you believe this? No, do you believe this? No, and that's why. That's what's happening. And I say this is a movement. You know, they used to use the word silent majority, and it sort of disappeared. And they have different reasons. But we're not even a silent majority. We're like a noisy majority. It's noisy. There's nothing silent. And that's what's happening. All right. A couple of things. And maybe it's not going to sound as exciting right now because that was really, I mean, every time I talk about it, I just can't believe what we're doing. I can't believe. And it's so big. It's so important. Nuclear is so important. We should have made a great deal, and we blew it. We had a chance to make... We had a chance. Yeah, we'll get him. Don't worry. I'll get him. I'll get him. You know, I made a lot of money purposely buying bad contracts for very little. I've had friends that they went bad and they had a lot of bad contracts. I'd buy that, and I would make a lot of money with bad contracts. Believe me, it's called renegotiation. It's called beyond renegotiation. We'll get them. Don't worry. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. But, so we got to talk for a couple of seconds about a few other things, and maybe we'll take a couple of questions if we can. I don't know. It's not set up, but who the hell knows? I have all day. I don't care. I don't care. So immigration. When I first announced, I took a lot of heat. Rush Limbaugh actually said, I have never seen anyone take so much incoming, because I brought up the subject of illegal immigration. Illegal immigration. And I said, and I mean it because I'm really good at building things. You got to see what I have in New York and Chicago and different places. That's what I do. I'm building right now the old post office in Washington, believe it or not, on Pennsylvania Avenue, right near the White House. Somebody said, will he move into the White House? The answer is yes, okay? Yes. Right between Congress, right between the Capitol and the White House. And it's an incredible building. I'm building Doral. I'm building all this stuff. I know how to build. And I hear about the wall. A lot of people agree. You know, about 12 years ago, everybody wanted the wall. And then listen to this one. One of the reasons they couldn't build it, because they couldn't get their environmental impact statements. Do you believe it's true? I've done a lot of research. They couldn't get environmental impact statements. You know, there was a snail or a darter or something or a snake that was in the way, that was nesting. There was a snake that was nesting in the area, you know, within 153 feet of the wall. Oh, our country, what we're doing to ourselves. And Mexico, they're friends of mine. They can't believe how stupid we are. They can't believe it. They can't believe it. And not only will we build a wall, and it will be a real wall. Did you see last week they had a truck going over the wall? They have a little wall, it's about this size, and they built a ramp, right? And they had a truck loaded up with drugs. Loaded up with drugs. A pickup. Didn't even need a strong engine. It had the small engine, not the big. And they had a little ramp going up and down. And they have the truck going back and forth. It's like the craziest thing. No, my walls don't work that way. My wall's a wall. My wall's a wall. And you know, walls work. Go to Israel. You'll see that walls work. Nobody comes through. No, walls work. So we're going to build a wall, and it's going to be impenetrable. It will be a real wall. And we're going to take care of our Border Patrol people because they are great, and they're not allowed to do their job. They're not allowed to do their job. I met with them. That's why the white hat does so well, right? The white hat. That was when, then when I met in New York in the red hat. No, I was in Iowa with the red hat, and now the red hat's doing so well. So it's a crazy thing. And it says, make America great, right? That's what it's all about. But, so we're going to have, oh, there it is, right there. But we're going to have a real wall. And then they say, oh, the wall can't be built. It's too expensive. Well, first of all, in China, the Great Wall of China, built 2,000 years ago, is 13,000 miles. This one, you need really 1,000 miles. It's almost 2,000, but there are a lot of natural problems. So you have Jerusalem's a point. And that's why I say, in Israel, you have a wall that absolutely works. You talk to them. Believe me, it works. And the walls work if they're properly built. Not walls this high that are fences and that you have, that you actually break them down and walk right over them, okay? And our Border Patrol's not allowed to do anything. And then you have the anchor babies. You have a woman, she gets pregnant, she's 9 months, walks over to the United States, has the baby. Congratulations, United States. You take care of that baby for 85 years, okay? And then the 14th Amendment. And then what happens is they all said, oh, you can't do that because you'll have to have a constitutional amendment. It'll take years. It doesn't. It doesn't. I turned out to be right. I was a little lucky on this subject, to be honest with you, because... But then the great constitutional lawyers all said, no, they're having the baby. It's an illegal person having the baby. You don't have to do that. And we will win in court. But a simple act, listen to this. A simple act, and we have hundreds of thousands of people coming to the country that way. And I'm not only talking about from South America, from Mexico, Latin America. I'm talking about from China. They come from all over the world. They sit down, they have a baby right there. And we have them for the next 85 years, or hopefully they live a long time. We have them. Our country is crazy. Do you know, if you want to become a citizen of Mexico, it's virtually impossible. Okay? Over here, they just walk in. Now, Mexico, they're too smart. Their leaders are too smart for our leaders. That's all it is. They're too smart. They're smart, they're cunning, they're sharp. They send people right through. Trains go right through them, and nobody gets off. Nobody gets, no, you go right into the United States. And then we send them all over the country. And we have all sorts of problems. Now we have a problem with the migration. And I said, I mean, it's a horrible problem, the migration from Syria and other places, in my opinion. So I'm asked the other day, what do you do? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I said, well, I guess you got to help, on a humane basis. You feel badly, right? It's terrible. But then over the last couple of weeks, I've been watching, and I say, wow, that's really something, because Obama now wants to take in, listen to this one. They were talking about 3,000, then 5,000, then 10,000. It's a lot of people. 200,000. The new number is, no, think of it. That's, you know what, 200,000? That's like an army. When you get to, so now I'm looking the other day, and other people have noticed this too, and they're all men. It's like, where are the women? Now, not all, but they're mostly men, right? And they're also very strong men. These are not people. And the first thing I said is, these are men, strong men. Why aren't they back fighting for their country? And then I said, and it is true, take a look when they show. Of course, now the press is going to show different sections where, but no, I mean, if you look at a random, as they call it in polling, if you look at a random sampling, you'll see tremendous numbers of young, strong men. So, I don't want to say that's for sure, and probably it's not. But that could be ISIS. That could be the enemy. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people coming into this country. We know nothing about them. There's no documentation. There's no papers. They don't know As he said, they're already in. Some are already in, by the way. Hate to tell you. But there's no documentation. There's no paper. They say, yes, I am so-and-so, and I'm from Syria. Oh, well, come on into the United States. We have no idea what we're doing. Number one, it will cost billions of dollars to take care of them, to get them over. You know, one of the greats, I said, I will, and I mean this. And the reason I say it early, because I want people to know, and I even want them to know, because it's all over the world what I said. It was pretty controversial. It's all over the world. They know. Everybody knows. You know, that's the one thing about today, modern-day communication. I said, if they come in, and if I win, and somebody's going, win. Well, it's if. You know, look, I'm running against politicians, and they are good at one thing, trying to get into office. That's about it. No, that's it. They're not good at anything else. They're not going to create jobs. No, they're not going to create jobs. They're not going to create anything else. They're good at talking. They're good at getting into office. That's about it. And after they get there, they fall asleep for 4 years or 2 years or whatever it might be. And that's what's been happening. And I said very strongly, I said, look, if they come in and if I win, they're going back. They're going back. They're going back. So ABC, television network, ABC, this reporter, I won't mention his name, he doesn't say the whole thing. You know, I give a thing. They could be ISIS. They're all men, so many men, strong, young men. They leave all that out. They have just one clip. If they come here, they will go back. I look like the worst human being on earth, right? They really, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. But let me just tell you, if they come in, and if I win, they are going back. They are going back, okay? The amazing thing is, and you know, they have like so many people, so many different lines. They said, well, you can't send them back. How would you ever get them back? I said, how did they ever come here? It's unbelievable. They're talking about bringing them from Syria so they can bring them, no problem. We cannot get them back. It's terrible. And what I do like is a safe zone. I do. You take a big area in Syria. There's plenty of land. That's one thing you have over there. There's no real estate problems. Not a lot of people investing in Syria right now. You get a big piece of land, safe, get a big piece of land. Let Germany, let all these other countries, including the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, unbelievable wealth. By the way, they're not taking anybody. Anybody! They're not taking anybody to the Gulf states. I have so many friends in the Gulf states, they buy my apartments like crazy. I love them, okay? But they're smart. They're not taking anybody. Now, we're taking 200,000, but the Gulf states next door are taking nobody. And they're not putting up much money, if any. If any. But what I would say is this. You get the Gulf states. Saudi Arabia makes $1 billion a day. You get the Gulf states. You get Germany, because Germany, I mean, they're having riots over there now. Merkel was strong. Now all of a sudden they want to get rid of her. That's going to end up not in a good situation. But you get these countries that are going through hell right now with the migration, and they all feel guilty. You get them all to chip in, and you build a safe zone. And then ultimately, when that whole mess ends, whenever it ends, and who knows, it could go on for a long time, but ultimately, you let them go back to their homes. You let them go back where they actually probably want to go. You know, they probably want to go. I mean, you know, I have employees that work in different parts of Latin America, South America, Mexico, in parts of Europe that actually are not doing well. And I say, what are you going to do when you retire? Oh, Mr. Trump, I'm going back home. Really? You are? They'll leave, like, great areas. They want to go back home because it's home. It's very interesting, isn't it? They want to go back home. It's ravaged in some cases. But when they leave, their big thing is to go back home. It's very interesting. And these people are going to want to go back home. It's sort of natural, right? It's sort of a natural thing. So we have to help them in that sense, but we don't have to help them where we take them into our country and we are going to give them documentation that's in Arabic. We're going to give them all sorts of documentation. The whole thing is just crazy. So we're going to help because we do have a heart, but we can't take them in the country. And there is a problem. You could have a Trojan horse situation. This could be the ultimate Trojan horse. I don't think it is. It probably isn't. But the word probably is unacceptable, right? It's probably... I mean, this one could be written about for a long time. And, you know, they know how stupid our leaders are. They know how dumb our leaders are. So they probably figure, boy, this is going to be easy. We'll send a lot of people, and a big percentage of them is going to be great fighters in ISIS or whatever enemy it may be, because we got plenty between ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all of them. So a big percentage could be that, and probably isn't, but it could be. It's not going to happen. We're getting them out, okay? And I hope they don't come in. I hope they don't come in. They shouldn't be allowed to come in. It shouldn't happen. That part of the world has to take care. We can't take care of everybody. We can't do it. We can't do it. We just can't do it anymore. We owe $19 trillion. You know, last time I was here, I was in Nashville about a month ago. We had an amazing crowd. Amazing crowd. Who was at that event? Yeah, we had a lot of people. But we had an amazing crowd. And like today, I mean, incredible. And we were talking about 18 trillion. And now it's 19 trillion. It just goes up. It's only going up. And when Obamacare kicks in, which is really in 16, Obama's going to be playing golf on some of my golf courses, I think. Okay? He won't care. When Obamacare kicks in, do you see what's happening to your premiums? They're going up 40, 50%. Do you see what's going on? When Obamacare kicks in, it's going to be unbelievable for our country. Unbelievably bad. So expensive. So we're going to repeal Obamacare, replace it with something much, much better. So bad. But the fact is, we're at 19 trillion. We owe 19 trillion. We owe 1.5 trillion to China. Can you believe it? They take our jobs. They take our base. They take our money. And we owe them 1.5 trillion. How does that work? I always call it a magic act. How about Japan? We owe Japan the exact same amount. We owe Japan $1.5 trillion. 1.5 trillion. They sell us cars. We send them beef and they send it back. They don't want it. Their farmers don't want it. You know, okay, I don't blame them. They want to do their own stuff. What do they want the United States for? So we send cars. The numbers are massively different. We send cars. They bring these cars over. We send a car over to Tokyo, right? Like one Chevrolet. They send it back. I'll bet you don't have a Chevrolet in all of Japan. Okay? So they send us, I see boats in Los Angeles, the biggest ships I've ever seen, loaded up with cars, loaded up from Japan. And they're coming out, they just want, it looks like a highway, it looks like the Long Island Expressway. Just pouring out of these ships, pouring out. We owe them $1.5 trillion. Now think of it. We do this tremendous imbalance, and we have a huge imbalance with Japan, like close to $70 billion a year. We have almost $400 billion a year imbalance with China. 400 billion. I mean, how stupid are our leaders? How stupid are they? We can't go on that way. Now, with China, we open our country. Oh, free trade, free trade. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I'm a free trader. I like free trade. The problem with free trade is you need smart people. If you don't have smart representatives, free trade's a disaster. And I have Carl Icahn lined up. You probably heard. Carl's a great business genius. And I have other, the biggest, the smartest people. I know all of them. I know the good ones, the bad ones, the overrated ones, the ones that nobody heard of that are better than everybody. I have guys lined up. Believe me, we'll put them in those rooms. It's going to be a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame. You know, because, you know, ultimately it is really a sophisticated chess match. But I have the best people lined up. I mean, think of it. Think if we can bring that down a lot and even break even. Just break even. You're talking about 400. Do you know what that does to us? Do you know how that makes us? Essentially, you're losing $400 billion a year. Okay? Think what I could do. You know, they all said, I came out with my tax plan, and I was going to read it to you, but you've all heard it, right? Well, you've all heard it. But the truth is, people said to me, well, I don't know, it's a very steep tax cut. And it is, for the middle class especially. For the middle class. And they said, it's a very steep cut. Can you balance the budget? I said, balance the budget? There's so much waste and fraud in Washington. When you start cutting, you're going to balance the budget. Believe me, you're going to balance the budget. So we have that. Then we have our military. We're going to build it up. We're going to make it great. And we are taking care of our veterans. Our veterans. Our veterans. Our veterans are being treated like third-class citizens, and they're our best people. Our wounded warriors are the greatest. I see them, so I love. These are incredible people. They went over there, and they've been let down. They've been let down by the politicians. The politicians don't have. You know, right now, Iraq is negotiating. Just as I said, 2003, 2004. Read the articles. They wanted me to shut up. I said, you're making a mistake. But just as we're talking right now, Iraq is negotiating with Iran to take over. Iran is going to merge in with Iraq. I said that was going to happen. And Iraq has among the top 3 oil reserves in the world. Iran is saying, thank you, United States. We didn't have to fire a shot. You're so stupid and nice. Iran is going to take over all of those reserves. They're going to take over Iraq, and Iraq is already going like, come on in, please, come on in. It's so sad. It's so sad. The level of incompetence. You have Syria going, and you have Russia in there. Now, if you remember Russia, Russia was the Soviet Union, right? And they went into a place called Afghanistan, and they went busted. They went bankrupt. They were fighting it for years. The Afghans are great soldiers, very smart, very smart. In fact, I'm waiting for Obama to give an exact date when he's going to leave. Then they'll just go away for a little while. Then they'll come. That's what happened in Iraq. We are leaving in 14 months. October 13th, we will be leaving. The enemy says, hey, this is great news. Now, think of this. By the way, think of this. Even if you didn't mean it, okay? Because think of General Patton McGrath. Think about what they're doing. They're spinning in their grave. They can't believe this. Think if Obama said the following. We're never leaving. We're going to be there forever. Forever. And we're going to destroy them. And we're going to this. And we're going to that. Even if he didn't mean it. They would have said, oh, I've had enough. Let's get the hell out of here. These people are crazy. These people are crazy. So now we have the Syrian situation, and that's going to be a big bog down. That's going to be bogged down, and I can see already what's going to happen with Russia. They think it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And Russia doesn't want ISIS. I know they're hitting the other targets right now, too. And we're supposed to be fighting for the rebels. But nobody knows who the rebels are, right? Remember Libya and how bad Gaddafi was? And we're going to fight for the rebels. Well, then the rebels killed our ambassador in the worst way. What happened to him? And 3 other people, and many other people, by the way. Okay? Remember that. Perhaps thanks to Hillary Clinton. Correct. 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 But do you remember that? And then you have Iraq with Saddam Hussein. I mean, he was vicious. He was a violent guy. But you know what? There were no terrorists in Iraq. That was not. Now it's the Harvard University of terrorism. That's where they study terrorism right now in Iraq. You had no terror. You know what he used to do to the terrorists? A one-day trial and shoot them. Okay, that was, and the one-day trial usually lasted about 5 minutes. All right? Right? You see it. There was no terrorism then. There was no, and remember this, when the World Trade Center came down, they didn't go back to Iraq. You know that, right? The families. The families got deposited on airplanes to go home because the husbands are going to do a great deed. They're going to knock down the World Trade Center. They were going for the Pentagon, and they were going for other locations. Okay? And you know where they went? To another place. Correct. They didn't go to Iraq. They didn't go to Iraq. So we shouldn't have been in, and then the way Obama got us out, we shouldn't have gotten out. That was the wrong way to get out. We shouldn't have been there, and we shouldn't have gotten out the way we got out. So there are a lot of stupid people in Washington, and it's one of those things. But I just want to tell you that, and I was going to read the plan, and I was also going to read the Second Amendment to you, because we have a Second Amendment plan that's great. Because I was going to read it. I was going to do a whole thing, and I was going to come up and read the Second Amendment, and we have an incredible policy. You know, they all wanted me to do policy. And I kept saying, read it, read it. I can do it. I'll start off. Should I start off, really? So I put in Donald J. Trump, et cetera, protecting our Second Amendment rights will make America great again and strong again, right? The Second Amendment to our Constitution is clear. Now, this is in light of what's gone on with Oregon. You know, every time something happens, they blame. They don't blame mental illness, that our mental health care is out of whack, and all of the other problems. And by the way, it was a gun-free zone. I will tell you, if you had a couple of the teachers or somebody with guns in that room, you would have been a hell of a lot better off. You would have been a hell of a lot better off. It's really sad. And we can say that with respect to a number of places where that happens. But you have a gun. How about the military event that took place 3 or 4 months ago, where you had these highly decorated soldiers in a military area where they're not allowed, and this one soldier was like one of the highest decorated, and they weren't allowed to have the guns. And this whack job walks in and starts shooting them. Why are we having gun-free zones in a military camp? Okay? So, the Second Amendment to our Constitution is clear. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon, period. 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 The Second Amendment guarantees a fundamental right that belongs to all law-abiding Americans, right? I wrote this. The Constitution doesn't create that right. It ensures that the government can't take it away, right? Can't. They're doing all sorts of moves to try and take it away. Our founding fathers knew, and our Supreme Court has upheld, that the Second Amendment purpose is to guarantee our right to defend ourselves and our families. We need that. In fact, I have a license to carry in New York. Can you believe that? Nobody knows that. Ooh. Somebody attacks me. Oh, they're going to be shocked. Can you imagine? Somebody says, oh, there's Trump. He's easy pickings. What'd you say? Right? Oh, boy. What was the famous movie, remember? No, remember? Where he went around and he sort of, after his wife was hurt so badly and killed. What? Honestly, you're right, it's true. But you have many of them. You have many of them. Charles Bronson, right? The late, great Charles Bronson. Name of the movie? Come on. Death Wish. Remember that? We're going to cut you up, sir. We're going to cut you up. Being one of the great movies. Today, you can't make that movie because it's not politically correct. Right? It's not politically correct. But could you imagine with Trump? Somebody says, oh, all these big monsters aren't around. He's easy pickings. And then, So this is about self-defense, plain and simple. It's been said that the Second Amendment is America's first freedom. That's because the right to keep and bear arms protects all of our rights, which is so true. We're the only country in the world that has a Second Amendment. Protecting that freedom is imperative, absolutely imperative. And I do a whole paper on it. And it's gotten fantastic reviews. It's enforced the laws in the books. It's fix our broken mental health system. All of these people, it's not the guns, it's the people that these sick people defend the rights of law-abiding, and this is important, because they're trying to take your rights away. They say, we only want a couple of bullets in the magazines, maybe you shouldn't have magazines, have a gun that fires one bullet, have nothing. Defend the rights of law-abiding gun owners, and that doesn't happen, so we have to do that. They have background checks already in place, and that was done in 1998, and people slip through, and our government's not doing a great job. You have a national right to carry, and you have the military bases. I mean, when you think about the military bases, so we laid out this policy. I'm a very, very big Second Amendment person. It's very important to me. It's very, very important. So, one other thing I want to say. I met with a lot of ministers and pastors the other day, and I brought up one point that has been bothering me for a long time, and it's the word Christmas. We can't say Christmas. You ever go to a store now where it says Happy Holiday, and I say to the owner, where's the Christmas? No, we don't do that. We don't do that anymore. You think of it, you can't use Christmas anymore. Okay? I will tell you one thing. If I win, you're going to be using Merry Christmas all the time. All the time. So, it's an incredible honor to be here. It's incredible to see the kind of numbers you have in this room, and way outside. We have speakers set up for them, but it's, obviously not the same thing. But it's an honor that they showed up, and they're standing out there in the rain. But I just want to tell you that we are going to do something special. There's something special that's happening. There is something special, and I see it everywhere. There is something special that's happening. And look around at the people that are next to you, and just remember, we are going to do something that's going to surprise the world. We're going to win, and we're going to turn this around. And we're not only going to make America great again, we're going to make it better than ever before. And we can do it better than ever before. And I just want to thank you, and I love you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Because you have said that Planned Parenthood, they do some good things, you say. Are you surprised to see what's spilling out in Congress now with Republicans?
No, because
trying to
they feel
defund it?
very, very people that are Republicans, like myself, think it's disgusting, some of the tapes that came out and some of the views. Now, they're fighting it, Planned Parenthood is fighting it, but if you look at what's going on with those tapes, anybody that watches those tapes cannot be a fan of Planned Parenthood.
But what our reporting
And you know
shows...
what? They had bad representatives, because when you watch some of those doctors talking so cavalierly about what obviously is human life, I think it's disgraceful.
Okay, but Carly Fiorina has made this a big point of her campaign, talking about the video, right? The Planned Parenthood video.
Well, that was a different video, though. That's a different, there were some videos that were, that was really a video, I guess, that they say was not a correct video.
Right.
But there were plenty of, I don't know anything about that.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, she's been hit very hard on that because they say it wasn't correct. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to that video. But I've seen some of the other videos that were absolutely correct, and I think it's disgraceful what
Now from New York City, Donald Trump. What do you say to that? If somebody shoots up a mosque, you're responsible.
Well, I think it's terrible what's going on. I can tell you in New York City, they used to go in and check and do a lot of different things, and now they're not doing any checking. And I think, frankly, the question that was asked of me in New Hampshire, which was a packed house and a lot of enthusiasm, I just didn't want to respond to the question. It's the first time I've ever been sort of made controversial by not responding to a question. But they wanted me to defend President Obama, and he can defend himself. I don't have to defend Obama.
Okay. But, I mean, look, the media is not going to give you a fair shake, and then it's not. But that brings us to me and you. All right? You're on record as saying that I've been fair to you, and I believe I have. So let me ask you a couple of questions. And if they're unfair, you tell me if they're unfair.
All right.
Am I fair to say that in order for you to win the Republican nomination, that you're going to have to change your style and be a bit kinder and more mature? Is that a fair question?
Well, I think it's fair. I think the word mature is not appropriate, but I think it's certainly fair. I think that, as you know, I'm leading every poll, and most polls I'm leading very big. In New Hampshire, in Iowa, if you look at what just came down, South Carolina, the polls all #1, so I can't be doing so badly, Bill, but it's not going to be a question of nice. I think I'm a nice person. I have great relationships. You know me well. I help people. I love people. But it's not going to be a question of that. It's going to be a question of competence, because people are tired of being pushed around by every country in the world, every single thing. We haven't had victories.
But you have to be kind of presidential. I'm going to run a clip now of something you recently said, and then I'm going to ask you another question, which may be unfair. If it is, you tell me. Roll the tape.
You have this clown, Marco Rubio. I've been so nice to him. I've been so nice. I've been so nice. And then, no, but he's in favor of immigration, and he has been. He has been. It was the Gang of Eight, and you remember the Gang of Eight. It was terrible.
All right. Now, would I be unfair to say to you, which I would if we were at a Yankee game, hey, calling Senator Rubio a clown was not presidential?
No, I don't think you'd be unfair, but I have to tell you how that all started. I was getting along with him perfectly fine 2 weeks ago. Everything was fine. I don't really know him. And all of a sudden, he attacks me about nothing, but really attacked me quite viciously. And I fought back. I told people that he has one of the worst voting records. He has the worst voting record in the Senate. He never shows up. I mean, he's not going in for votes, and that you can't do. He's weak on immigration, unbelievably weak on immigration, and I'm all about strong on illegal immigration and other things. So I mentioned it, and I said it loudly, but again, I'm a counterpuncher. He hit me all of a sudden.
Okay,
Same thing with
I
Rand
didn't
Paul.
mind the
Rand
Gang
Paul
of
was
Eight
so
stuff.
nice.
I didn't mind the Gang of Eight stuff. He's calling him a clown.
He was a member
That's
of the
not
Gang of Eight.
presidential. All right, final question.
Okay, listen. Excuse me, Bill. He was a member of the Gang of Eight, which was a disaster. He was totally weak on immigration.
But
and by the
fine,
way, he hasn't changed.
But it's the clown stuff that's not fine. Last question.
Well, okay. I can understand that.
Okay, good. You have the
but
highest...
But he hit me very viciously.
But on policy, you have the highest unfavorables in the polls, all right? More people don't like you than any other candidate. Is it fair to ask you why you think that is?
Well, I also have the highest positives in the poll.
Yeah,
that's
I know,
why
you're
I'm
like
leading
Howard
every
Cosell.
poll.
Remember
so
Howard?
It's a combination.
Yeah, he was like Howard Cosell.
I guess, I think you can see this. I've done very well over the last number of months in terms of getting the unfavorables much better. If you look at New Hampshire, I'm doing great with respect to favorable, unfavorable, very positive. Iowa, the places that I'm going to a lot, South Carolina, I'm doing great in that category. So I think when people see me, when they see I want to make America great again, they all of a sudden say, you know, we really like him. I'm actually a nice person. I try very hard to be a nice person.
You're going to grow on us then. You're going to grow on.
Well, when I go to Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, they really like me, and my favorables are great there because they see me a lot.
I got it. The more you see you, the more you're going to like you. Now, fair interview?
Well, for whatever reason.
Fair? Everything fair? Are we good?
You were very fair. You're always fair.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Almost.
And we're almost, I know. Okay, and we appreciate you coming on, and we hope you'll do many more with us because you're a fascinating guy.
Wow, that's some group of people. So we're going to be discussing something so important for our country, for our economy, and for getting us all working again and working well again. It's a tax reform that I think will make America strong and great again. Too few Americans are working. Too many jobs are being shipped overseas, and too many middle-income families cannot make ends meet. This plan directly meets these challenges and the challenges also of business. It will provide major tax relief for middle-income and for most other Americans. There will be a major tax reduction. It'll simplify the tax code. It'll grow the American economy at a level that it hasn't seen for decades. And all of this does not add to our debt or our deficit, but I'll also be discussing some of that at the end because we have to make much better deals, we have to negotiate much harder, and we've got to make our economy strong. Changes for individuals will be at levels that you haven't seen in a long time. We're going to cut the individual rates from 7 brackets to 4. Simplification. 25%, 20%, 10%, and 0. If you're single and earn less than $25,000 per year, or married and jointly earn less than $50,000. So, very important. If you're single and earn less than $25,000 or married and jointly earn less than $50,000, you'll not pay any income tax, nothing. This eliminates very strongly and quickly the marriage penalty, very unfair penalty. It eliminates the AMT, which is the alternative minimum tax. It ends the death tax. It's a double taxation. A lot of families go through hell over the death tax. It reduces or eliminates most of the deductions and loopholes available to special interests and to the very rich. In other words, it's going to cost me a fortune, which is actually true, while preserving charitable giving and mortgage interest deductions, very importantly. It ends the current tax treatment of carried interest. Those are the hedge fund folks that I've been talking about for quite a while. They make a lot of money, carried interest. So it ends the current tax treatment of carried interest for speculative partnerships that do not grow businesses or create jobs and are not risking their own capital. Changes for business. Now, so important, because it's all about business. It's all about jobs. We have 93 million people in this country that are in serious trouble, that want to work, they can't work. So for business, no business of any size, from a Fortune 500 company to a mom-and-pop shop to a freelancer living from gig to gig, will pay more than 15% of their business income in taxes. Big reduction. A one-time deemed repatriation of corporate cash held overseas at significantly discount, which coming back at a significantly discount, 10%. So it comes back discounted at a 10% tax rate and ends the deferral of taxes on corporate income earned abroad. Now, it's called corporate inversion. It's a huge subject. I've been watching politicians now for years. All talk, no action politicians. I've been watching them for years talking about bringing this money back. The number is probably $2.5 trillion. Everybody agrees it should come back. Republicans, Democrats, everybody. They can't make a deal. They don't know how to go about making a deal. The reason companies aren't bringing it back is the tax is onerous. It doesn't make sense to bring it back. And in fact, many companies are leaving the United States. They're leaving our shores to go and collect their money. They're actually moving out of the United States for two reasons. The taxes are too high, and because they have tremendous amounts of money that they can't bring back into this country when everybody wants them to bring it back in. It's called leadership. We will have that money brought back in. As an example, I have millions of dollars overseas. I can't bring it back into this country. We file papers. We've been doing this for a year and a half. You can't get it back in. So the money stays in other countries, and that's what happens. Not good for us. The level of leadership that we need to get things like this done is so important. But this is something, and I've been watching it for a long time, everybody agrees to. We also reduce or eliminate some business loopholes, many of them actually, and deductions made unnecessary or redundant by the new lower tax rate on business income. The tax rate now is so low that a lot of these deductions, which are complicated, which don't make sense, and which are unfair, are gone. And we phase in a reasonable cap on the deductibility of the business interest expense. So we are going to give you, we have a very complex set of papers that actually, if you know business, is not so complex. And we're going to hand them out right now to the press. And I think you'll see we have an amazing code. It will be simple. It will be easy. It will be fair. It's graduated. As you get up in income, you pay a little more. Some of the very unfair deductions that certain people have been given who make a lot of money will not be available any longer. But I actually believe they'll do better because I think the economy will grow. It'll grow rapidly, and we'll have something very special. Now, with all of that being said, and before we take some questions, we have to cut the costs of what's going on in this country. If you look at what we're doing and the money we're spending, I read where a washer, you know what a washer is? Nuts, bolts, and washer. to send from one state to another. It was a 19-cent washer, and it cost $900 and some odd thousand to send it from here to there. And there are many examples. Hammers that cost $800 that you can buy in a store for a tiny amount of money. We will run this country properly. There is so much money to be saved. We're reducing taxes, but at the same time, if I win, if I become president, we will be able to cut so much money and have a better country. We won't be losing anything other than we'll be balancing budgets and getting them where they should be. So this is a plan that's simple, that's a major reduction. I think people are going to be very happy. We've already had some very good reviews. I did the plan with some of the leading scholars and economists and tax experts that there are in this country. They love it. They say, why hasn't this been done before? And this is my wheelhouse. That's what I do well. The economy is what I do well. Whenever they do polls, I always come out way above everybody else on the economy. And on leadership, by the way, but I won't say that. So if anybody has... Wow. Thank you. That's amazing. That's some of the press was actually clapping. I never saw that. I don't think I've ever seen that before. All right, why don't we take some questions from the press? Yes, go ahead. No, I'm not going to do that yet. I have to get their approval. But we have some of the top people in the country worked on this. Well, we're looking at a 3%, but we think it can be 5%. It could even be 6%. We're going to have growth that will be tremendous. And by the way, if we have more than 3%, these numbers are really spectacular. And one of the things that they don't take into account in any big league fashion is the cutting. There is so much waste in government that I believe when I get in there, I'll be able to cut, without losing anything, to cut tremendous amounts off of the... And we're not even showing anything for that. So they're very conservative numbers. Yes, Sarah. Yeah. My taxes will, first of all, I'll have a much simpler tax statement. It'll be much simpler. When I do my return, my returns go up to the ceiling and beyond, which is ridiculous. And you spend millions of dollars at a high level on lawyers, accountants, and everything else. We want to simplify them to a tremendous level. The bracket of 25, the big difference is many of the loopholes and many of the deductions, which are old, have been there for years, are antiquated in many cases, or are put there because a lot of the people that get these deductions are contributed to Hillary, they're contributing to Bush, they're contributing to every candidate but Trump, because I'm not taking any money, I'm self-funding. And these people want these deductions. There will be people, we're reducing taxes, but believe me, there will be people in the very upper echelons that won't be thrilled with this. We're taking away deductions, and that's one of the reasons we're able to lower it so. Yeah, this is actually a tax reduction. A big tax reduction, including for the upper income. I believe that the economy will do so well that even though they won't be getting certain deductions, which aren't fair for them to be getting, that they'll end up doing better. Okay, yes, go ahead. I just think this is a common sense approach. You know, we could say supply side. You could say there's 15 different names given out for different kinds of reductions or increases. I don't think it's supply side or anything else. I think this is a common sense, well thought out tax proposal that's going to trigger the economy, going to make everybody go back and really want to work. It's going to create tremendous numbers of jobs. One of the other things that I'm coupling this with is if I become president, I'm going to renegotiate our trade deals. Because our trade deals are not sustainable by this country. Not sustainable. We cannot continue to let our jobs go to all of the different countries. There's not a country that we negotiate with that doesn't make a better deal. Everybody. We lose money with everything. I'm also going to renegotiate some of our military costs because we protect South Korea. We protect Germany. We protect some of the wealthiest countries in the world, Saudi Arabia. We protect everybody. We protect everybody. And we don't get reimbursement. We lose on everything. We lose on everything. So we're going to negotiate and renegotiate trade deals, military deals, many other deals that's going to get the cost down for running our country very significantly. I'm not showing a big number in that, but I believe that if I become president, those numbers are going to be massive. As an example, Saudi Arabia, they make $1 billion a day. We protect them. So we need help. We're losing a tremendous amount of money on a yearly basis, and we owe $19 trillion. I used to say 18 for the last 6, 7 months. Now it's 19, and it's only going up. Yes, Tom? Well, now, Senator, look, Senator Rubio is a lightweight. We understand that. He wouldn't be able to do this. He wouldn't know a trade deal from any other deal. And what certain people are trying to do is they're trying to take, we just went up in the last poll. We went up 2 points in the last poll, and we continue to go up. In the NBC poll, I think we went from 26 to 29. We're going up very strongly in the polls. They don't know what to do about it. I built a great company. You'll see that in 60 Minutes last night. I built a great company. It's a phenomenal company with very little debt, tremendous cash flow. I'm funding my own campaign. Guys like Rubio, I mean, he desperately needs money. Ask the car dealer in Florida. Ask the people that support him. And a guy like Rubio and others, I don't want to single him out. You're singling him out. But they're largely controlled by their donors, the special interests, and frankly, more than anybody else, the lobbyists. I've turned down millions and millions of dollars from lobbyists and special interests because it's not the right thing. It's just not right. And that seems to be resonating very strongly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I negotiate. It's true. I do. I get bills from people and I negotiate. Or is that a bad thing? The country should do that. Yeah, I would. I'd bring that same attitude to the White House. It's true. She said, I have a habit. When you get a bill, you call up and you negotiate. To me, that's a compliment. No, I want to take that thinking to the White House. I would bet you we could save 20% of our budget. I could even say more, but we could save a tremendous amount. That has to be the attitude our country has. You can't spend millions and millions of dollars on doing something that you can do for $2,000. You know, when you look at costs, we just spent $1 million building a soccer field, okay? A soccer field for our prisoners that happen to be in Guantanamo, okay? I don't like that. What do you need $1 million for? Level out the surface, let them play, if they have to play at all, okay? What do you need to spend $1 million? We just spent, it's a story today, $1 million on a soccer field. How do you spend $1 million doing a soccer field? You have a level piece of land. Throw them a ball, let them play soccer, if they have to play at all. Why are they playing soccer is my question. Okay. Yes, sir, go ahead. No, it's too long. You don't have time. You're not time. All right, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead? Right. No, not at all. We're lowering taxes, which the Republicans love. And I think one of the reasons I am doing so well in the polls, and one of the reasons I'm doing so well when it comes to the economy in all polls, is that this is the thinking. No, we're lowering taxes very substantially, we're simplifying, and we're getting rid of deductions that are actually obsolete, that certain people want to keep for... Yeah, go ahead. Why is he harder on me than Putin? I would say because Putin is a nicer person than I am. Okay, go ahead. Right, right. It's the worst in 36 years. Okay. Well, it's a good question, and you can connect the dots. But I guess it has been probably since '04, you're talking about 10, 11, 12 years, that people have wanted to bring the money back into the country. And again, it's called corporate inversion. And a lot of times the corporations are moving out and they're going to other countries, taking jobs. And now we have a really big problem because we have serious companies, very large, very prestigious companies, as you know. Obviously, you know something about business. But we have major companies looking to move out of the United States. It used to be they'd move from New York to Florida, or they'd move from New Jersey to Texas, or whatever. Now they're talking about moving from the United States to Ireland and to England and to other places, to Spain, where they get treated differently and, frankly, better. And they're doing that for a number of the reasons, but one of the big reasons, as you know, is taxes. One of the other reasons is to get all of this cash that they've built up and they can't get back into our country. And when this money comes back into our country that everybody wants, it's going to be put to work in our country largely. It can go other places, but largely. And I think it'll be an amazing boon. Now, here's the other thing. They think it's $2.5 trillion. I think it's much more than that. I actually think it's going to be more money than that. And boy, if it is, we have hit pay dirt. Yeah, go ahead, real fast. Well, when you end the repatriation, when you get the money coming back in, beyond, tremendous things happen. Sarah, go ahead. Well, I'll be announcing that in the not-too-distant future. But I will tell you, I've been honest. I'm the only one that's honest about this thing. I watched Romney, and I watched, I pay so much tax, I pay so much tax. I watch all politicians, and they say, I fight like hell to pay as little as possible. Can I say that? I'm not a politician. I fight like hell, always, because it's an expense. And, I'd feel, and I fight. I have the best lawyers and the best accountants, and I fight, and I pay. But it's an expense. And, frankly, I would feel differently if this country were spending the money wisely instead of throwing it out the drain. Our country spends our money so stupidly. And I will tell you that I can speak for myself. I pay a lot of tax, but I fight like hell to make it as low as possible. But I would feel a lot differently if our leadership was such that I respected the decisions. All you have to do is look at a list of the things that our government is spending money on right now, and you don't feel so good about our country. Yes? Well, I'll tell you what, in terms of income inequality, we're going to create a lot of jobs. Right now, we have a false 5.4, 5.3, 5.6. Every month it's different. It is such a phony number because when people look and look and look, and then they give up looking for a job, they're taken off the roll, so the number isn't reflective. I've seen numbers of 24%. I actually saw a number of 42% unemployment. 42%. And it could be, because when you're looking for a job and you go around and you look and you look and you fight and you want to work and you want to take care of your family, and then you can't get the job, and you know what I'm talking about because you're shaking your head, and you can't get the job, essentially, for statistical purposes, you are considered employed. So then I read, every time it comes out, I hear 5.3% unemployment. That is the biggest joke there is in this country. That number is so false. And, people ask, how come Trump is doing so well, and Carson and others? How come they're doing? You know why they're doing well? Because people are tired of political speak. They're tired of that. And the worst example of it, one of the worst examples of it, is the phony unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is probably 20%. But I will tell you, you have some great economists that will tell you it's 30, 32, and the highest I've heard so far is 42%. There's anger out there at the job picture. Now, one other thing. With that being said, China, Japan, Mexico, Brazil, these countries are all taking our jobs like we're a bunch of babies. That will stop. People will treat us fairly if I become president. We are losing our jobs. We're losing our base. We're losing our manufacturing. All of that will stop. Yeah, go ahead. Well, this is number one, it's simplification. Number two, what I'm really doing is the big picture, because corporations now are going to start having an incentive to create jobs. They're going to have an incentive also to stay in this country. I know nothing about that. Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm not a populist. No, I'm not. I'm a man of great common sense. I'm a man that's built a tremendous company with the best locations in real estate, the best everything. You're here at one of them. I have many of these. I've done a great job. I've employed tens of thousands of people. I employ now thousands and thousands of people. I've done a good job, but I wouldn't say populist at all. I would say I'm a man of common sense. I'm cutting taxes. I'm going to create a lot of jobs. I'm going to get rid of a tremendous amount of waste. And I'll tell you what, the waste that I get rid of, is going to have a huge impact. And I'm not even putting that in my numbers. So I think it's going to be terrific. All right, how about one more question? Go ahead. Yes, the motor industry. That's a beautiful way of describing it, the motor industry. Where are you from? England. I love oh, what a beautiful accent. No, I want to get the industry, we call it the automobile industry, but I want to get the automobile industry to